Let's see what the coach can do.
Welcome back to Locker Room. My name is Thomas Locker, aka Coach Cuddle, and today we're going to be doing an offensive spread on Invasion. The reason why I picked Invasion for this is because it is one of the most basic maps that has a 3 lanes that you can actually go through the middle lane. If you look at something like High Rise, you can't really go through the middle of High Rise. Karachi does have 3 lanes, but it is a little bit odd in how you traverse the map. There's a lot of verticality, and it's just on Invasion is the most simple. So that's what I did on defense. If you want to check out that video, here's the one on offense. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the first question that we have to answer is, what is an offensive spread? An offensive spread is dispersing your team evenly across the map in order to play for information. It's the same thing for defense, except on defense, this is what you naturally revert to, and offense, this is something that you can revert to simply to play for information. On screen, I will show you a default offensive spread with some vision cones that what you can kind of see when playing for vision, and just the information that you're typically trying to gather when playing for offense in a spread formation. So let's go ahead and talk about the pros and cons for the offensive spread. So in the pros, the main thing that you are doing that is the benefits in this formation is the fact that you're playing for information. Information is huge here. You can kind of scout players out a little bit, move them around, really even show movement and be a little bit reckless, not on purpose, but maybe try to get someone to shoot at you if they are there, so that you can bait out a rotation, whatever it is. You're just trying to play for information to see if someone is there. The next thing is that you're playing for a pick. So for example, if you are sitting behind a power position or a piece of cover and you were waiting for them to overextend, waiting for them to push out in the open, or simply you just catch them off guard on a rotate, this is what the spread is great for, because you can get a pick and then you can decide what you should do from there. It's also great against teams that are rushing or heavily aggressive on defense. If you sit back on offense and basically reverse the roles and flip them, so if you act as if a defensive team and you let them rush you, you don't have to do anything. You're going to pick them off as they play over aggressive, and then you can react to what needs to be done based on, what side of the map is open, what player died, if their objective player died, if their slower AR player died. You can kind of decide what to do based on that pick, and based on essentially teams that are rushing, and you're punishing them for doing so. The other great thing about a spread is it's very versatile. So I've talked about how you can rotate based on picks, information, and so on. Because you are spread across the map, you have the ability to quickly rotate to one or the other bomb site. Now, you can't fully commit because you are so spread, but you have the ability to, once that information is gained, once the pick is gained, you can rotate 50 to 75% of your team very quickly to one bomb site and get control. Now let's talk about some of the cons. So the first thing is that you can waste a lot of time and not have gained any space in that time. What I mean by this is, when you are spread out, you are playing for information. That is time being wasted. If nothing happens, if they go into a spread themselves, there is nothing that you are gaining from this. If the defense is playing properly and it's just stalling out your spread, you have wasted a lot of time, and it forces you to heavy commit to a bomb site when you don't have the positioning or the space on the map to do so. So really, that's one of the biggest drawbacks for the offensive spread. And I did want to add something to that. This is kind of a sub-con. Really, you aren't fully committing to a site either. So because you are wasting a lot of time and you're not fully committing, you aren't actually playing the objective of what offense is supposed to do. Offense is supposed to hit a bomb site, plant it, and get the bomb down. Like, that's what they're supposed to do. And if you're not doing that, you're actively ignoring it to play a kind of a side quest, if you will, to make sure that you can play for information, but you don't have the bomb down. So that is a big kind of disadvantage of playing it. And again, I mentioned this earlier, but playing a spread against a spread is not good. The defense can naturally spread. You can spread for information, but if you're going against a spread, it's just not going to be a good day for you on offense, and you're probably going to lose around. So now the second question is, when should you actually use an offensive spread? Optic JP Krez, he is the data analyst for their team. He put out a video back in MW2 last year, basically saying that they use it in the first and second round. breaking down how they did it. I completely agree. I think the first and second round is a great way to utilize this, especially when you're not playing at the pro level. I mean, you could essentially do it even more than that, but you're really just scouting for information, and that type of information often comes in how do they play. You're often playing against teams you've never played against before. You're playing against players you've never played against before. When this in the CDL, they are playing against each team that they played against hundreds of times. They know how each other's played. Like, it's just the different strats that they come up with that make it different. So the first and second round is always a good time to actually utilize this. It's also great if you are having a tough time on offense and they are just running it on defense and you can't actually do anything to stop it, and you feel like just bad timings, just your people are out of place. Reset the tempo. Reset your tempo of the game. Put the game back in your control. Pull out a spread. See what's happening. Play for information. Even if you pull out a spread just to see what's happening and you end up lose the round, that can still be a good round for you because you understand how they're playing and you can use that for the rounds going forward. So make sure to use it to reset the tempo. Besides that, this is one that I've covered, but I do think that this is kind of tied in with tempo. If you need to play for information and get a pick, I know I've said playing for information a lot, but again, that is the key fundamental of an offensive spread. But if you need to play for information and get a pick, this is a great way to do it. If you really just want to play slow and they are stomping you on defense, you get a pick and then you decide what to do, you've immediately put yourself in a 4v3 situation, which gives you the leg up. This is a great way to do that. Or if you just want to randomly throw them off. So if you know, let's just say the game's going pretty even, or let's just say it's I mean, if you're winning a lot of your offenses, you may not need to change it up, but you can if you want to. But if you just want to throw them off and just be unpredictable, going into a spread is often pretty good. It can be pretty good too in last round on round 11, but it really just depends how the rest of the game is gone, right? If you think that they're going to predict you playing slow, or then that's probably not the best idea. If you think they're going to predict that you're going to hard hit sites because you've been doing it all game, then that may not be the best idea. You really just have to figure out when it's going to be best used to randomly put it in. I'm going to show you an example for a spread on A and B. So the first one is going to be a spread where you are attacking A, but you have vision on B. And the second is going to be where you are attacking B, but have vision on A. This is kind of similar to the defensive one where you have control of a site, but you have vision, still have vision on the other. This is the same way where you are maybe slightly more leaning towards hitting one site than the other. You're still pretty evenly spread across the map, but you are slightly leaning towards hitting A versus B, and then you still have someone who has vision on the other site just to make sure that if that one is clear, you can quickly rotate and they can push up and get control of it. So now let's talk about the information that I have been bringing up all video. What exactly is that information? Based on the information that you're getting, you can get a pick or you can rotate accordingly. Okay, that is what you should be trying to achieve with this information. So for example, when you are doing your spread, I just talked about this in the last section about the vision and the control, or the vision and the attack. But you need to have a designated bomb site as a default bomb that you're going to hit regardless of what happens. So things can move very quickly in game. So it's best to have a bomb site that you are slightly leaning more towards on. So for example, instead of it being 50-50 A or B, you have 55-45 A or B. You have 60-40 A or B at most, right? You are maybe a little bit heavier stacked towards one site, so you can take control of that if needed, but you're still able to rotate over. So let's just say that we're gonna do a heavier stack on A, just slightly, and then, but if we need to, we can go to B. That would be a default spread that you could go into, or you could say like, let's do a default spread heavy stack B. That could be another default spread that you can go into. You really just need to have a site ready to pick, and then the alternate is the site that you rotate to if it doesn't work out on that default site. So let me put you in a scenario. So let's say you're pushing A and you kill 2 players here. You can gain control of that site because you know on defense, people typically spread out. It is very rare that someone is going to do a full blind counter. But even if they do, you are already in a 4v2 situation, and if the other two were there, yes, it is possible that they could make 2 picks himself to even it out, but it is just rare. So if you got 2 picks on a site, that is a good indication that you should be moving up on that site. Alternatively, if you are pushing A and you see that there are 3 people around A, you just get information of them, instead of trying to play for a pick on 2 different players or just a pick on anyone, what you can do is just immediately pull back, because you know that they have spent so much resources and map space and positioning to have 3 players hovering around A that it's not really worth the risk of trying to kill one of those players and also watch for the flank and try to push up. I mean, it's just not worth it. This is a perfect time that you should actually be rotating back around and trying to go for B. Another reason that you may want to go for B is that if you do notice that there is a lurker, typically the anchor player who is holding down one site, they will lurk around one portion of the map. And if you do kill their lurker on, let's say, B Street, this is something that you know that there's probably no one else B Street. This, you can wrap back around, you can get control of B, and everyone who is at A on the defensive team, they have to push over and try to retake the site. So really just running back through this, if you kill 2 players on a site, on average, like, I feel like that's a good number that you can push up. If you get information about 3 players on a site, you shouldn't even try to fight it, just quickly rotate. Or if you kill the lurker, that means that the site is generally clear. Not always, but it is generally clear just based on how the enemy team is playing. So this is something that I didn't talk about in my defensive spread video, but I want to talk about the anchor and the lurker. So I may have misspoke a little bit previously, but the lurker typically is on offense and the anchor is typically on defense. You can have an anchor playing on offense holding down a certain site. And then you can have someone lurking on defense. It can happen, but these are just typically the play styles that I did want to show what their role is inside of a round, inside of a match, and how they can be beneficial, and why you should really have someone doing this when playing for information. And playing for information, or really just trying to hard hit a site. So as you'll see, me kind of moving one player slowly around the edge of the map, that would be a lurker. If you see someone kind of holding down a certain position, towards the edge of the map, kind of away from their team, that would be an anchor, right? They're anchoring the site, they're holding it down, or they're being a lurker and they're kind of moving along the edge, playing for information, trying to get a flank. So this player is usually going to be the same player. It is usually your slowest AR player who is going to be holding down the anchor and who is also going to be lurking. Now, I do want to make the distinction that you can have an objective player who is flanking on the map, but that's not a lurker, right? You're trying to hit a hard flank, and that's very different than lurking, because lurking is a slow play style, and you can set up angles a little bit better with an AR if you are lurking, and you can kind of go for a long range flank, and that's the benefit of the lurker itself. Whereas sometimes if you are lurking with a sub, that's more of just a fast flank, just trying to get in there and disrupt information and leave, right? That's more of a kind of in and out, where a lurker is a hard swing. Another characteristic of the anchor and the lurker is that they must be very patient, right? They cannot take the bait and quickly rotate to one site if they hear information is going, because it could be a fake and then they could give up their site, right? They're the last line of defense. So they really need to know when exactly it is time. And if they are going to rotate, are they going to rotate on the flank, right? Do they have the time to go all the way around and do that? Do they have the time to cut through the middle, right? It really depends on what is happening, but they are the ones who must be patient in order to make sure that their role is kind of done correctly. So in summary, do an offensive spread early. That's always a good option if you don't know what to do, or if you just don't know what to do in general. Offensive spread is great. If you want to just do it randomly, that's good too, but try to do a calculated randomness, if that makes sense, right? Try to make sure that you are saying, hey, we're gonna hard hit A as fast as we can. Next round, next offensive round, we're doing a spread. So it may seem random to them, but to you, it's a little bit more calculated. And lastly, be ready to take action. When you get that pick, when you get that bit of information, rotate quickly. Make sure that you're rotating at the right time. If you do it too late, you could be too late and the defense could have already rotated, and you're kind of just back at step one again, and you still have gained no space on the map and the time is even less than before. So just be ready to take action. when you get a pick or when you get information. All right, that's the end of this video. I appreciate you for watching, and you guys have a great rest of your day.